What's going on, blerds, nerds, and everybody in between? It's your boy Wyatt, the sensei of the syndicate, here with another episode of Just BS. And so today we got a super special guest here. He does a lot of stuff in the cosplay community. Has his group, BLERD and Powerful. You've probably seen him, the X-Men, where he was Cyclops, Black He-Man. He's also at the premiere of Black Adam. He was Hawkman. So, without further ado, just wanted to give it up to Hellspawn, aka Demetrius. What's going on, man?
How you doing? Thank you for having me.
Man, it's an honor and a privilege to have you, man. So like I see you do so many things. Like, how did you just jump into all this?
When I say we, I'm talking about like my team. Because I know that it's difficult to talk about myself without inherently talking about the people that I have around me. Because again, I wouldn't do a lot of this stuff. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of stuff without them. So I'm never going to be like that guy that's like this, I'm not going to be a David Ruffin, like me. So, but no, like I got started in cosplay back in 2017. I got divorced. I was bodybuilding with my ex-wife, and, doing that without the support system that you had beforehand and trying to do it by yourself is just crappy. So I needed something else to do, and when I got the house and the settlement, I got to hit extra couple grand to do things. And I decided, well, like, shoot, let me see what's going on with going to conventions in cosplay, because I used to go to conventions with her, or just by myself, or even with my folks at the Nerd Apocalypse. And I just never dressed up. I never got in cosplay. And when I did it, I didn't know I was jumping into a community. I did not know cosplay was a thing. I just thought people just did it on their own. And when I first did that first cosplay of Kratos, it kind of like put me on the map to a degree, because people didn't know who I was, and it was really good because I was like 3 weeks out from a show, from a bodybuilding competition. So it was just airbrushed. Like the abs were real, everything was right. So it was great. And then from there, people started asking me, like, they would find, well, once the photos came out from like Kotaku and like, comic book resources and stuff like that, they were like, yo, who is this dude? And one person ended up finding me, because I just happened to post it on my personal Instagram page with a hashtag, and like they followed it from there. And that was my homegirl Shirley, and she was like, why don't you like join this whole Mortal Kombat thing with me? Because she was Scorpion, and then I was like, all right, well, I'll do Sub-Zero. Like that's my main. I'll do something. And then from there, it was just I'm in the community. And she introduced me to a whole lot of people, and whoo. And then like 14 months later, I ended up doing He-Man, and that was the one cosplay that I guess hit like nationwide and then worldwide. And then it gave me a platform. And then I had a friend that asked me, so now that you got all these people follow you, what are you gonna do with it? And like as a student of the 80s, because I'm 38 years old. And
okay. 80s baby.
Right.
80s baby in this. Yeah.
I'm a Dare kid, McGruff, the Crime Good Dog, all that stuff, all these different lessons that He-Man and G.I. Joe and Mask and Thundercats and even like all of them. If you're given a platform to do something good, then you do something. Yeah. And so the proliferation of minorities within mainstream media was my platform, still is, but it's not my main thing right now. But that is, being able to put other people out there people of color out there, and be able to highlight them to the point where we start seeing ourselves more and more within the mainstream. And with the way that I do my cosplays, I don't half-ass anything. So the fact that I came in and did what I did and did it as well as I did it, folks have always gravitated towards my cosplay. So therefore they want me to participate in different projects with them, that would, in their minds, elevate their project to the point where it could be seen by other people. Who knows where it might go. So, I was working with Cosplay Nay out of New York, and I did like this 100 cosplayer celebration for in game, and that was a big deal back in like 2019. Yeah, it was like 2019, and then I did the He-Man thing again at BlerdCon. 2019 was a banner year because that was the year also I went to San Diego Comic-Con for the first time, and life kind of changed when you go to San Diego. That's a real bucket list situation, and everyone needs to go. Everyone needs to go.
So with that one, like with going to Comic-Con, like how do you choose which cons that you go to? Because I'm pretty sure you get invited to a lot of different ones.
I don't get no. So the thing is, when you get invited to a con, that means that you're like a featured cosplayer. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen too often with the mid to larger conventions. Okay. You usually have to apply, at least on my level. There are levels to notoriety for each cosplayer, for every cosplayer out there. There just is. Mm-hmm. People don't like those who are popular because it does go to some people's heads and they feel like they can't talk to people when they hit them up in DMs, or they just can't respond to shit. Like, it's like a little bit of fame, people are just dumb. What I mean? That's just too silly. But so the thing is, with these conventions, most of the time you have to apply, or your agent has to apply for you to be a featured guest. And since some of the cons do approach you, like, you kind of take whatever opportunity you can, especially when you're first starting out.
Yeah.
So like it's just different. Like, there's stuff that's coming up this year that I really did not think that was going to be a thing this year. But of course, you never know unless you try. And I'm one of those people who's like, well, I'm going to put the application in. You're going to have to tell me no.
Yeah.
Because you never know exactly where it goes. And so there's so much that I've actually done in the last 5 years where people just sat and thought they could do it, or they thought they couldn't do it until I did it, and then they tried it, and then maybe they didn't get as far as they wanted to, but they're at least doing something more than what they were doing before because they see me doing it. Kickstarters, all this other stuff. Like, nobody was doing a Kickstarter until I completed mine with $20,000 or 20,000 or 2,000% over than what I was asking for. Like, nobody was, you know what I mean? Like, there's a whole lot of things that people are doing now that they weren't doing before because Demetrius got it done, so we got to show him up, or we got to do better than him, type shit. So like, that's
so. How did you feel like the first like con you went to? You said that you were Kratos, like, and were you like nervous about cosplaying? Like, were you like, okay, it's cool? Like, what? Like, how does that go in there?
And being a black nerd growing up can be very traumatic. I am not going to excuse that. There's a lot of us, including myself, that got beat up for our fandoms. Like 2nd and 3rd grade. Yeah, I got fucked up a few times because I was wearing X-Men shirts. But here we are, years later, and people want to see X-Men, movies and stuff. So it's kind of annoying, but whatever. But I had my growth spurt in the 6th to 7th grade. I was in martial arts. I was playing football. I was in ROTC. So I was in the homecoming court. Like, I did everything plus be a nerd. I was never relegated to one group. So my experience and who I am as a person informed my cosplay. Okay, it informed how I was going to enter into a big building full of people who've never seen me before, and I'm painted ash white with dark highlights or whatever, carrying 2 blades or carrying 1 blade of chaos because that's the only one I could get at the time. So I don't have feelings of nervousness when it comes to my cosplay, because I make sure that I am right when I step into a place, if that makes sense. If I look at photos after the convention, then I start critiquing, like just like with this last one with Katsucon. There's some things I want to change, upgrade, and manipulate and modify, but it's still a damn good cosplay. And I'm always going to make sure that I have one of those when I go out in front of people. So my feelings are just, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do it right.
So like what goes into like choosing like a role for you? Like is it just something that you enjoy, or is it somebody like? Because I know sometimes, like especially as Black people, we get told like, man, we should really be Jon Stewart, man, we should
Mm-hmm.
really be Steel, we should really be Blade,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and like those are the ones that are normally do that. But like I've seen that you don't relegate yourself to those. Just like you choose roles that I think maybe are more for you or people that you like. So like
Sure.
what goes into kind of choosing your people?
If it's my cosplay, it's my character. It's
Mm-hmm.
He-Man. Like if people say Black He-Man, and I hate the fact that I'm identified by the color of my skin when I'm that character, because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
He-Man. But I found a way to say I'm just a Hellspawn He-Man if people
Mm-hmm.
really want to put something on it other
Yeah.
than just He-Man. But you know, that image of like the afro and you know what I look like with the loincloth, I've had that in my head since I was 4. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like these are every character that I've had for the most part is someone that I've had some sort of connection with on a visceral level. You know, unless I was paid to do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was paid to do Hawkman. You know, to put that
Oh.
together. You know, that was like a whole project that ended up falling through, and my parents and myself had to finish the job. So between me and my parents come up with the rest of the money to pay the person who made it, like my tailor. You know, that's what I call her. You know, we that suit's now mine. It was always going to be mine, and what I did with it after I got it is what is actually. It's funny how a story of fraud ended up turning me into something more than what that person was able to ever do. That's a story for you. But yeah, like these characters are personal to me. Like I didn't consider cosplaying as Homelander until that episode where he was trying to figure out how to be a dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he was there, he was present, he was doing all the wrong shit, but he was trying, you know, and me being in the position that I'm in, whereas I don't have my son all the time like I would want him, you know, and I especially I think he was like 1 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it trying to figure out how to be a dad that's not present all the time, but then present when you have him.
Mm-hmm.
That I was identifying with Homelander at that point. Like you're trying to catch up, you're trying to figure it out. So of course that's when I did it. But of course a lot of people didn't like the fact that a Black man was cosplaying as Homelander because they just immediately thought, oh well, does that mean he sympathizes with Nazis? I'm like, no, he don't even. Y'all don't even watch the show because if you think he was fucking with the chick just because she was a Nazi, nah, he was like,
No,
no,
as soon as
it's
he
about
found out
me.
that she was a Nazi, he was like, no, I'm not for that. Like,
That's
he
what I'm
was
saying.
like,
Like people don't watch the shit that they talk about. Like it's crazy to me. Yeah, but then like He-Man, Sub-Zero. I've always been a fan of Icon. Yeah, it's the Superman versus Icon, like right here type stuff. Like it's like this entire room is something I've been collecting since I was 4. So of course I'm going to have a lantern from Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. So I've done Jon Stewart, just a casual one. Like these characters mean something to me, and yeah, and I'm going to keep it that way. People can suggest all they want, but unless they're paying for it, you know, even Cyclops. I've always fucked with Cyclops. You know, Cyclops and Colossus are my favorite X-Men. Like straight up, like can't help that.
have you ever like? Who gives you the most critiques when it comes to like, you know, you shouldn't do this one, like, because like I know there's a lot of like, you know, trolls that do kind of, you know, say this or say that when it comes to like a certain character should be a race. Like what kind of things, how does that affect you, if at all?
The only time that it's affected me where someone tells me that I shouldn't be a character because I'm Black was when my own Black people were telling me I shouldn't be Homelander. Like I got screenshots, man. I made a TikTok out of it. I'll send you the link. But yeah, because the thing, this is what happened. We were in the middle of the pandemic. Nobody was doing nothing. It was 2020. Everyone was sitting down. No conventions, no nothing. Right? So, you know, I was still like, you know, I was still trying to be creative. I was still putting stuff out on, you know, TikTok. I was like getting used to TikTok at the time. And I did a photo shoot You know, I did a photo shoot with a photographer. We went to the nation's capital because I mean I'm here in Baltimore, so we went to DC, and I was in front of like the Martin Luther King monument. I was at the Lincoln, and I was dressed as Homelander. You know, and it was, and for me, I am a very political person. Like I do pay attention to politics, so this was my bid to say, fuck Trump. You know, if Homeland, and I had bought, I didn't steal, I bought a Trump Pence flag, right? And I burned it as Homelander. You know what I mean? I like my heat vision and all that stuff. Just, you know, I set it on fire, even on video. I did it on video, and it was like my political like way of saying I don't fuck with Trump. So vote blue. Photos go out, and the producer of The Boys caught wind of it. You know, he shared it on his Twitter. Like it went wide. And again, this is something that the marketing manager at Mattel told me. He's like, I have like that unique ability to garner attention. So so yeah, I got a lot of people talking about Homelander when nobody was doing anything else. So of course I'm the only cosplayer that put out like something that was like going something and actually meant something. And since they weren't getting the attention, I got, let's say these black folks that were in the community, you know, they get hot on the collar when white folks tell them that they can't cosplay certain characters. Were telling me straight up, you should not be Homelander. Like we don't need a black Homelander. You know what I mean? Like at the same time, there was a woman, a female black cosplayer from the UK who already did Homelander, you know, and like nobody paid her attention. There was another cosplayer, male cosplayer, who was black. He did the comic book version of Homelander like months prior, you know what I mean? But nobody said anything to him. But it's me. I'm the focus, and my own people were telling me that I should not be a character. So yeah, that fucked me up for a while, you know, to a point where it could have very well put me on a villain arc, you know, and it kind of did, because the things that I'm doing now are the things that these people can't do, you know, and I know that they resent me for it, but they're the ones who put me on this path by treating me the way that they did. So I'm just going to be doing as much as I can to help the people,
in spite of the people.
Like you can't be a part of the community to help the community is what I've learned in these 5 years. Because that's why Beyonce don't fuck with us like that, because you know we make videos talking about her bangs and shit. Like
I mean, and that's the thing, man. Like you telling like, and this is awesome for you, where you're like, you know, people from Mattel or people like a producer from The Boys saw this, or you know what I mean? Like those are monuments within themselves that you should be like, damn, that's so cool that one of us is getting that recognition. But like, rather than being able to have that, sometimes we have that crab mentality of trying to bring people down. You know what I mean? And being worried about attention in the wrong light, rather than just being able to have attention and being like, hey, this is how we feel. Like there's sometimes where like standing up is really necessary in order to have that done. So,
and see, the thing is, like, these folks believe that the table is only as big as it is, because that's how small their mentality is. That's how myopic they are. But the way that I've seen it is that the table is open for everyone. You just got to be able to make your own plate, baby.
And you gotta make your own room, man. Like,
like if you don't have anything unique to bring to the table, then of course you're not going to be able to sit down and eat. You know what I mean? Like it's potluck. You know, for you to feel like, because when I judged the cosplay contest for the GXL, and I met cosplayers who I had never seen before with like followings of like, you know, in the 50K, and you know, I mean, and they're, you know, black woman, white woman, like, you know, I've never seen these people before, but yet they're thriving. They're not a part of this, whatever you want to call it. You can't call it community. You can just call it like a bunch of cliques. You know what I mean? And it's amazing that that's what this has become, even though that's what people ran from in high school, because they were not a part of those cliques. Like y'all became the devil that y'all hated.
So do you think that you have like run into a whole lot more of people who try to gatekeep against what you're doing as far as that's concerned? Like, do they try to test your knowledge on on these characters or that character that you play, or like what, like what do
No,
they?
well, yes. Some people say that I would. Okay, because of how I looked in my cosplays, I was considered to be just a model. I was not considered to be a cosplayer.
Put your wall back here, though.
But then that's the thing. None of this was nobody saw this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I mean, this was before. This was like say He-Man. Like I got started in June of 2017, and He-Man was done in October 2018. So, you know, my time of not really being known within the community was really short.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and I didn't have like a whole lot of like photos or whatever of my room of everything that's here. Like I've got like a line of Power Ranger Zords from the 90s, like from MMPR all the way up to Turbo, and because I still got to get the in space ones because I'm just trying to get like the Zordon era of Zord.
I'm with that too. Like I just stop at the Zordon era. I'll be like, all right, after when it hit Lost Galaxy, I was like, okay, this where I get off the bus at.
Lost Galaxy is terrible. Between that one and because that was that wild access shit. No. Lost Galaxy was okay. That was the one with Leo. That's the one who went to prison for killing somebody. Wild Force was the one I was like, yo, this is garbage. But then Ninja Storm is my jam. And SPD. But
I was gonna say SPD was tight because it was like futuristic, and you got to have the black person as the lead.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't really want to do this, but in order to stay out of jail, I'll lead this little Power Ranger group for a little bit.
SPD was my jam. I should concentrate on that too. But anyways, people didn't know me, but they judged the fuck out of me. You know, and so and it happened. It was my own people. It wasn't the white folks or anything like that. Nobody gatekeep on the white folks except for if I went into He-Man groups, then that's where I saw a lot of the racism, you know, and just because there's a lot of bigotry within the He-Man fandom, a lot. Like, and the people who fight against it are other white folks who are just like, yo, like we're just supposed to like love the fans, like you love the fandom. Like, why do you make everything so this, that, and third? So they have their own internal battle. For sure, you know, in the He-Man crew. But like the my main adversity, my main gatekeeping situation has come from the black community.
Damn, that's sad, man. Like you figure when I first started to talk with you, man, I was like, okay, cool as a fan. Let's go ahead and chop it up and do this from there. Like you want to see people do great, so then after that you can be able, like, because you're gonna be able to open doors for other people who, you know, may not be able to do the same things that you do, but it still makes it normalizes. Say for instance, if I want to be able to cosplay or something, it normalizes it so that you went through it already. So then after that, everybody's like, oh yeah, Black He-Man, you know, or, you know, Hellspawn He-Man, whatever version that you want to do from that point. But it's just sad to hear it from there.
Yeah, man. It's like this community has put me through it. You know, I've made some mistakes within my own personal life, but when it comes to revenge porn or I've had people talk about my kid, you know, like they call him a prop, and this is someone who's mainly a victim herself for her size, or, you know, because she's a black woman or whatever, but she's popping shit about my son. Like again, I got screenshots. There's nothing that I say that I can't prove. Like, they call me CVS for a reason, because I got receipts. But you know, I mean,
you're not gonna skip over the fact that you just talked about revenge porn, though. So
like someone got a photo of me, you know, in the middle of intercourse and sent it to my mom, sent it to my ex-girlfriend, sent it to people within the community and shit like that. Like, like it was a thing. Like I've had, and it was all by my own people. You know, everything that I've been doing in this community to either help or to uplift or whatever has been, you know, for the community, and the biggest trouble has come from the same community. You know, like, I've got every reason in the world to do everything that I'm doing right now, whether it be like subtly evil or
or just
or
outright, just
or
be
just
like,
outright evil, right? But again, like, who does that serve? You know, if I'm looking at the picture, if I'm looking at the bigger picture as a father, like, what do I have to do in order to make sure that it comes up in a world that's better than what we're leaving, you know, than what we're living in right now. It just so happens that I am in a position now to do things and to block people from doing things because I know that they would not be a good fit for
so
what we're doing.
So you talk about community, and you started your own community with Blurred and Powerful. Like, let's talk about that. Like, what does all that work and encompass?
But that's the thing. Blurred and Powerful is the community itself. Like, you see it on TikTok, you see it on Instagram. There's a lot of people who have a really hard time with just existing as a black nerd on the internet. You know what I mean? Without trolls, without people tearing them down. Like, you know, I'm speaking from experience, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to acknowledge the fact that it's an affirmation. Like, yes, I am blurred, but I am also powerful because I can take the next step, and I will not be deterred in my journey of where I find happiness. So that's where Blurred and Powerful like really has like a lot of like essence within itself that people can latch onto. The other part of Blurred and Powerful is that I'm using it as a networking function to get high dollar investors in front of black owned conventions, whether it be like Afro Comic Con, Blurred Con, Black Label Comic Con, J1 Con. Like, I'm trying to get them in front of these people so they can invest, sponsor, or supply something that will make that convention grow within that community. Because when you think about it, black owned conventions house how many different black owned businesses when it comes to like the vendors, the artists, you know what I mean, the creatives, all of them. If you go to a convention, it's going to be it's a bunch of black folks, right? If a black owned convention can grow, then that means that those businesses can grow within themselves because they'll have more foot traffic, they'll have more revenue. You know, the community itself. Like, I always use San Diego Comic Con as an example because that's the apex of conventions. That convention does 130,000 people per day, right? So for 4 days, San Diego's getting a financial boost from that traffic. The hotels, the restaurants, the small businesses, everyone is getting more revenue because of all that traffic. And then we talk about the actual businesses themselves. Some of the vendors in there pay $18,000 just to exhibit at that convention. Can you imagine how much? Go ahead.
And then they make it back too because of the fact that they have all that stuff in there. So it makes way more sense to invest in that event so that there have more people in that local area to be able to really grow. So
so like, you know, if you're thinking if BlurCon's at a hotel now, what if we were able to make them grow enough to go to a convention center? You know, instead of having 50 businesses, they're now housing 150. That means there's more revenue as far as vendors' fees for the convention, and there's more people who are able to attend because it's in a more localized position or localized like location, you know, than just a hotel. So it's the idea of putting money in the right place that would help a lot of businesses as opposed to just one business, you know, two businesses, you know. And then we're talking about like, let's talk about children maturation. You know, if a convention can exhibit for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as opposed to just Saturday and Sunday, then the local schools can have field trips to send those kids and go see those artists, get some one-on-one time, get them inspired, get them thinking about what kind of stories they may want to write, what kind of you know characters they want to draw or learn how to draw, and then you have your next generation of creatives. You know what I mean? Think about it, like your middle school and your high school kids.
Yep. And then you think about it, even when like, and I definitely see it from there. You have, because you can have those panels where you have nothing but like school kids that are interested in those things being taught by those. And then they can be able to look back and say, man, this is the con that I found out, you know, I found my calling, or I found that, you know, I got that boost to let me know that like I can be able to do that. So that's really dope to have that, man.
It's so simple. Like, and it pisses me off that I'm the one that's doing this. Why haven't anybody else like decided to help the Black conventions? You know, it shouldn't have been me, but okay, I'm here. I'm here to help. Like, a lot of people don't like me because they think I'm an asshole, but yet I get things done. You know, I've produced documentaries. I've produced, like, you know, shorts. You know, like short film projects or whatever. I get people together. We get the money together, we get things done, and there's a product for somebody to view, to say, hey, who is that person right there? Oh, let me check their IMDb because it's there. Like, everyone who's ever worked with me now has an IMDb page.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that a lot of people don't even offer or don't even think to offer, but yet these folks who are in cosplay want to be somewhere in the industry one way or another, and this is how they can get their start.
I'm gonna say this. I saw He-Man and the one on Netflix. I really feel like they need to be running you a check, though. I'm just saying.
Listen, no, there's the He Soul. He Soul is me. You know, that's so if they, I don't want a check for that. That was me as a fan that had always had that idea in my head. The fact that I've got proof that the He Soul is an homage to me and Sunman. I'm cool with that. Like, that's framed and it's in my living room right next to a picture of my son.
They gave you, like, they told you that was.
Oh yeah, I talked to the creator, Tim Seeley. Yeah, he cannot say it publicly. You know, that because again, like, you know, we talk about like copyrights and trademarks and all that stuff. You can't infringe upon you can't really say that a cosplayer is your inspiration, because that means that it's not an original idea, even though I'm using their IP to create an idea, you know. It's ultimately theirs. It just doesn't look good. But in a private conversation that I have screenshotted and framed, it's him saying that He Soul is, and then, like, I just saw that He Soul and the rest of the He Force are on a cover of Masterverse #4. I was like, oh my god.
Bro, how does that make you feel to know that, like, you inspired somebody to be like, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna take this dude right here and we're gonna make him King Grayskull. And then after that,
I don't know about King Grayskull. I'll take the credit, but I don't know about King Grayskull. Like,
man,
you know, those locks.
I mean, I feel like they just changed the locks. You know what I mean? Because then I feel like it was maybe a little bit harder to animate with that versus, like, you know what I mean? Because then after that you had the fro, and then it's a little bit too much like Afro Samurai. So I think they was like, we got to change something, otherwise we're gonna get in trouble.
Listen, I'm just glad that it's there, because other people have seen it, other people have gravitated towards it, and other people have benefited from it. So, you know, I feel like I can, you know, everyone wants to have a legacy, and we think of our kids as our legacy, which is true, you know, but knowing that I was able to do what I've been able to do in the last 5 years, you know, and make waves away. Yeah, nobody can ever take that away from me. And everybody who hates me, everybody who loves me, you know, they gotta respect that, because they couldn't do it.
Yeah. So you had talked about, like, Hawkman not being like the initial thing that you were trying to do, but then, like, you ended up kind of falling into it. How did that happen, though?
Okay, so I got approached by a person who was into all of the crypto and all of the NFT shit, right? And she was like, listen, if we get this cosplay made of you and Hawkman, then we start selling, then we make these photos into NFTs, then not only will we make money hand over fist, because, like, she was like a businesswoman to me, right? But we'll also get the attention of Aldous Hodge, because she has worked in Hollywood, and she wanted to, because she's worked in Hollywood on like 2 projects, like on Westworld and something else. So she was like a line director, and so she was like, listen, you know, I want to get his attention because I want to work with him, and this is like one of the best ways to do that, is to just like highlight the character that he's portraying in this major movie. I was like, all right, you know, cool. Like, so I got paid my initial fee, and Woman of Wonders 8 is my tailor. Like, she is my go-to for, you know, the intricate cosplays, like the ones that I just really can't build on my own. So So yeah, so we approached her. We had this whole powwow, and we're like, all right, yeah, we'll get this done. Excuse me. I was not a part of the money process, right? So I was just I was just one of the creatives. I was the one going to the house to get fitted, all that stuff. And we come down to a week before KatsuCon 2022 last year, and my tailor says to me that she hasn't paid the rest of the deposit yet. I'm like, rest of the deposit? Like we're down a week, like you supposed to have been paid. Like, looking at the payment schedule, I'm like, you supposed to have been paid. She was like, yeah, I know. I just continue to keep making it because I just felt like if you knew this person, then it was going to be made good. I was like, fuck. So I went to the person. I was like,
she put you in a bad situation because she used your name type thing, and she's
right.
like, off of GP, I'm gonna finish this because I know that you're good for it.
Right. So because the suit was $3,800, right? So I went to the benefactor, and I was like, yo, what's going on? And she was like, listen, things have started happening with crypto where my money is frozen, this, that, and third, and I'm trying to but that shouldn't matter. Like, we borrow stuff in Hollywood all the time and return it. I'm like, we're not in Hollywood. People want their money. They deserve their money. She completed the suit on time, and you were not paying her. Like, that's a problem. And when it came down to it, she didn't like being checked about her money, even though she was the one who boasted that she had all this money. So she ghosted me. She ghosted, Woman of Wonders and like Regina, and like she just disappeared. And so we're left, holding the bag for the rest of, because the suit was $3,800. We had to come up with, between me and my parents, we had to come up with an additional $2,000.
Oh.
So she didn't pay anything, nothing. So all right. So I got the suit, and then I put it on, tested it here at the house, made a couple of videos, and the way that I do TikToks, the way that I make videos or reels, it's all about impact. And when I first dropped that first video, it did get to Aldous Hodge, and he did share it on his Instagram, and he was like, yo, from one Hawkman to another, I appreciate you type shit. I'm like, yo, that's dope. But that's the attention that she wanted, that the benefactor wanted, right?
Yeah.
So you wanted that, but then yet you couldn't hold up your end of the bargain. And now I'm doing it. Then she took that video of Aldous acknowledging the suit, and then put it on her Instagram, and then cut me and my son out of it, blurred us out by saying that it was all her who came up with the design of it, and the fact that she can make this suit whenever she wanted to, type deal, and she was basically taking all the credit for it. It didn't matter because nobody knew who she was. Nobody cared. She wasn't in the suit, so nobody cared, right?
That's
so
crazy.
So that happened. Went to Katsu, had great photos, all this other stuff. Didn't hear nothing from her, right? But that. Fast forward to San Diego Comic-Con, right? I am hanging out with the fellas, whether it be Big Gold Belt and 3 Black Geeks, and and a few other folks, and we were at the Paramount Plus party, and we're leaving. I get snatched by somebody, and I get like, because we're in a group, I'm the one person that gets pulled, like, what the fuck, who? Like, do we got a problem? Like, and I look up, and there's Mark Bernardin, Akilah Cooper, Jason Johnson, Dr. Jason Johnson, and I didn't know at the time Phil Boutte, and then Aldous Hodge was all just sitting there in the middle of the night, just having like late night dinner or something like that, right? And then I said, I think I know you, and he's like, I think I know you too. And then we started like having that banter, and like I had the camera going, where we, he's talking about his wingspan. I'm like, but my G, like yours is CGI, like I got real shit, right? So, it was cool. Like we got a chance to meet everybody or whatever, and then kept it moving. So the thing is, San Diego Comic-Con back in 2019 had the best experience for me personally because it had the Blurred and Bougie party. And the Blurred and Bougie party was hosted by the CW and WB. So that means that we were on a yacht with the Black Lightning cast and the Flash cast and Legends of Tomorrow, and we were having like a black ass, good ass time. You know what I mean? It was.
Question.
Yeah.
How fine was Candace Patton?
She wasn't there, but I did see her at the DC and DC event in 2018, and she is fine. Like that.
Okay, just one. Just one. Just one.
But yeah. Train of thought. But yeah, we had a great time. Had a great time, and I was thinking, damn, I really like this party because it reminds me of BlerdCon. It reminds me of any black convention where we just have a good time, right? White conventions are what they are, and they just don't party like we do. So in 2022, I'm back at San Diego thinking that there was going to be another Blerd and Bougie party, and there wasn't, because they were still thinking that people didn't come back to the country, for COVID and all that stuff. All right, cool. So I was thinking, damn, I left San Diego this year or 2022 thinking, how can I get that party back? Am I just going to have to just throw it myself? Am I going to have to but I can't throw a party without a purpose because, again, I'm 38. I've been listening to Tom Jordan for X amount of years. Mm-hmm. Party with a purpose is this thing with that party boat, the cruise and all that. And then that's when I started coming up with the idea that, I've got friends like Jason Richardson, who owns J1 Con. He's telling me stories about how he needs another $20,000 in order to host this convention because his benefactor passed away on him. You know what I mean? And he and his wife take out their life savings every year in order to bet on this convention, to bet on people to come to the convention so that they can at least break even. And I think that's bullshit. That's crazy to me. You got conventions like AwesomeCon, OdaCon, Baltimore Comic Con, and nobody's personal life savings is at risk here. It's all businesses. So thinking damn, I gotta help him out somehow. And I started thinking about the logistics of things. I started looking into San Diego, started looking into DreamCon, started looking into New York Comic Con, and thinking yo, these numbers are crazy. How come we don't see them in black conventions? How come we don't have our Denzels or our Angela Bassett's at these black conventions? That's because we can't afford them. But why do we need to afford them if they should just be there for our people? Because again, in order for us to be propelled forward, we need to see ourselves doing well.
Exactly.
So it kind of it started pissing me off that we've had all these blurred entities that have not been able to do anything really for the people. But then I'm thinking, well, they're not really, a business is a business. It's not necessarily made for the people. Mm-hmm. So, all right, I'll piggyback off of Blerd and Bougie, Blerd and Powerful. Mm-hmm. It's I've been seeing people on TikTok about how they're diminished in their algorithms, about how, we get our dances stolen by white folks, how how our flavor is just taken from us. And in order for us to continue, we have to have affirmations for ourselves. So it all started coming together for me in mid to late September about how to make this thing work. Mm-hmm. And so on September 28th, I'm gonna start looking through all the social media networks. I started looking through the hashtags. Blerd and Powerful did not exist as a hashtag. Now, you look on TikTok, there's 9.4 million views under that hashtag. And that was from September 28th to where we are now. I've been able to build up that brand, and how it started was I started coming up with a pitch deck for it, and my boy Eric Moran, the Smoke 007, hit me up right around the Black Adam premiere. He was like, "Yo, I got tickets to the premiere. You want to ride up to New York and see what kind of damage we can do?" Because he mm-hmm. cosplays as Black Adam. I was like, "Bet, let's go." This is one of those situations in your mind is you just gotta have to just say yes. Just say yes to the experience, because mm-hmm. you don't know what you're going to run into, and you don't want to disappoint yourself, right?
Yeah.
So I go to Philadelphia, pick him up at 4:00 in the morning, and then we ride up to New York. and I gotta, because like my wings span was about like 8 feet, right? So I gotta put them because I got a pickup truck. So I got a pickup truck with a cap on it. So I gotta take the truck, And so we're up there, and I had prepaid for parking near Times Square. And the thing is, we couldn't park until 8 o'clock. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna park here, this one specific spot, until we go to the parking space. And thing is, Eric is a former pro wrestler, so he's actually run into The Rock several times. He's kind of modeled some of his career after him a little bit. Like it would be a big deal for him to see Dwayne again. And so he was just basically telling me, he's like, I hope this and that. I'm like, dog, don't stop worrying about what you hope for. Just be an experience. He says, you're right. I was like, see, you're so worried about what you could do, what you hope could happen, that you're not paying attention to the fact that we are parked right across the street from the Rock's hotel, and he just walked out of that motherfucker so he could have a GMA interview with Michael Strahan, right? And I was like, go get your moment. And he hopped out the truck, pulled out his phone, was talking to him, like they were rapping on the Rock's live and stuff like that, and like he had that moment. Because he was in it, and that was something that I was like super proud of for him, and super happy for him, because that meant everything. That meant the world to him, right? So I like, and that set the tone for the rest of the day. That man didn't want to eat nothing or nothing because he was so still high off of that. And we changed clothes into our suits like later on after we got our tickets for the movie, and come to find out, because of Zaslav coming into WB, and slicing the budget down, they had no cosplayers whatsoever at the activation for the Black Adam premiere. So you had a bunch of fans that were just coming in, looking at people play Fortnite, looking at the suits, that were made in the movie, and like drinking the Rock's tequila, and looking whoever was on stage. So the fact that we showed up with my big ass golden wings and Eric, as Black Adam, they were like, yo, can you stay for us? Because we don't have anybody. And it was just us. The week prior was New York Comic Con.
They could have easily.
10,000 cosplayers were there just down the street at the Javits Center just the week prior, and nobody else was there except for me and Eric. So it was us for the next 7.5 hours. Like if a cosplayer is listening to this, they understand what exposure looks like when it's just you, cameras, and the fans. It was just us for 7.5 hours. Then at the end of the night, that's when all the stars of the movie came to the premiere, and guess who walks up? Aldous Hodge. And so he was like, I see your wings, bro. And then I said, yeah. And then that's like I got a video of me handing him the pitch deck for BLERD and POWERFUL. And I basically told him Black Oak Conventions could use your help. And he took it and he put it in his phone. He's like, I'm ready, bet. And then that was it. I posted that video on Instagram. The 2 days later, I get a message from this guy who says, I'm glad you got a chance to talk to him. I've been meaning to connect y'all. And I was like, who is this, right? And his name was Phil Boutte. And he says, yeah, I'm the guy that snatched you back at San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh.
I'm like, what? So like I go through his profile. This man is the co-creator of 9B Collective, who is also the co-creator with Aldous Hodge. And 9B Collective is the concept studio that works for Marvel Studios and works for a whole lot of other like game studios or whatever. So they're the ones that came up with some of the images that you saw in Wakanda Forever. You know what I mean? Like they do it. Yeah. Like they design the characters of how they look in the movies. And so their whole mission is bringing an artist that in affecting, basically affecting the Black style within the industry with how the aesthetic looks. That's their whole thing. And so Aldous Hodge is part of it.
Yeah, so you're right in there with, man. That's just awesome that you like the stories and how kind of putting yourself out there and having other people do the same thing is what makes that experience. And like you said, like it sounded like to me like you were telling your friend Eric like not to worry about the expectation, but just to be in the moment at that time. And like that's really good. So what would you tell people who are just trying to start cosplaying?
Well, let me finish this one thing, right?
Yeah.
So Phil happens to be tight with the people that was sitting at that table at the San Diego Comic-Con, right?
Yeah.
Those are the people who created Blurred and Bougie. So he introduced me to the creators of Blurred and Bougie, and I've been working with them in order to run Blurred and Powerful in tandem with Blurred and Bougie for San Diego Comic-Con, so that we could all so like the first 3 hours would be Blurred and Powerful, where we try to give these black conventions some funds or whatever, and then we party for the next 6 hours. Like that's what we've been doing.
You can't beat that with a stick, bro.
No, and like it's all lightning in a bottle. I had no clue. So that if people believe in the universe, people believe in religion, whatever, the fact that my path has been what this is, and there's no way I could have forced this. No way whatsoever. So yeah, like that's just a part of what I've been doing, ever since, like, say, within the last, like, say, 18 months or so. That's just one thing, and there's so many other things that's happening right now that I can't talk about it, but I just don't know how far it's going to go yet. So to answer your question, if you're going to start getting into cosplay, the first thing I would tell people to do is to just plan ahead. Don't give yourself a hard deadline that is so unmanageable. Like, give yourself 6 months to put together a cosplay that you can be happy with. And then once you get to that 6 months, and then you see any tweaks that you can make with it, then you've already got the build together. But that con crunch crap, that is not cool, man. Like, that is stressful.
So you said that you were a bodybuilder. So do you take the same kind of lessons that you have from bodybuilding to going into certain cons?
Well, it depends on the character I'm in, yeah. We conventions should be fun. Okay, conventions for me have been more business than pleasure. So I go to conventions for 2 to 3 hours. I take as many pictures with people as possible, and then I'm out. Like, I don't hang around. I don't linger. If I'm there for a photo shoot, I'm in that specific spot, because for me, like, I'm not saying that I'm famous, but I'm infamous, and people will try to say anything that sounds like I would do. You know what I mean? Like, they would take, somebody said that they saw me from across the con floor and I just had this evil aura about me. I'm like, my nigga, I'm Kratos.
Thank you, baby. I don't know. You know what I mean?
And then half the time people are wearing contacts that they can't see through, because they get the cloudy ones as opposed to getting the mesh ones, like some people with, like, some common sense, so they can't see clearly. And there's a lot of people that you just don't recognize, when they're in cosplay. But that's the whole point,
Yeah.
And so therefore I spend a lot of time at conventions, either on my phone, detailing what I'm doing, texting somebody, or, like I take the whole buddy system thing really seriously, because I cannot be caught in a situation where someone can say I did something and I have no way to prove that I didn't.
Yeah.
And that's shitty. Like, I'm in a very much of a James Gunn situation where people will try to get me canceled for something that happened 4 or 5 years ago to someone else in a private situation, but they want to make it public and think that that's going to be like an indictment of my character, which is not. So, like I said, like, cons should be fun. So if you are in this whole situation and you want to get into cosplay, and you do it for fun, and you do it with your people, your tribe, find your tribe, honestly, because I think I've just now really found my folks, which isn't true. I found some folks very early on. It's just, they're not as bombastic or consistent with the cosplay as I am. So there's some folks that I rock with now, that are on the same wavelength. Some folks were popping shit about my boy Julius and I, excuse me, and we're like, yo, they said they want to put us to shame. All right, so let's do something. And we ended up coming up with our storyline where I'm Bihan from, you know, the older brother of Mortal Kombat Sub-Zero, and he's Kuai Liang, his younger brother. You know, my dragon medallion from Deadly Alliance has mutated me to a point where I look like a dragon. That's why that mask looks the way that it does. I'm breathing smoke the way that I am. And he's coming to basically bring me back from the darkness. And then, you know, we had a couple of photos. Like, they're coming soon. But, you know, people want to think that they can show us up, even though we were there to help them. You know, of course, we're going to have a little bit of petty in us. And that's where I find like he's like my that's my dude, you know? So he and I, like, that's my tribe right there. And so you got to rock with your folks before you try to rock with anybody else, because these folks out here are treacherous.
Man, shout out to both of you guys, because next week or later on this week we're gonna do an interview with him too. So, so definitely it's cool, man. I'm excited to hear and talk to both of you guys. Like, now you were talking about beforehand, it was like $3,800 or like to get your or 28. Yeah. What's the most expensive thing that you've kind of put together? Like, if you don't mind me asking about that, because like
the Spawn suit. The spawn suit is $4,000. So, and that's the one that Spawn. Let's see, and that's I'm in King Vader's Blade versus Ghost Rider movie that's coming out next month now. Like, he's been pushing it back, but we filmed that back in 2021. Yeah, he flew me out. He flew me out there for me to film this one fight scene with him, and it's because that suit is official. Like, that is official, like movie grade rubber. You know, you photograph that just the right way, and it looks like the Michael Jai white suit. So I want to say specifically that once this movie comes out, it's the only true like successor to 1997 Spawn. Then in no other fan film has come close, because if we filmed this in Hollywood, filmed this with like some Netflix money, like that is because, you know, that's what Netflix, that's what King Vader does. Like, he makes some stuff for like Netflix or whatever. So yeah, like that's I am when that drops. Oh, like I can send you videos now that I've been holding on for 2 years, and I just wait. I want to see what those special effects look like. So yeah.
Well, so what are some big cosplay no-nos for you, like if for somebody getting into it?
Make sure that you get comfortable footwear. Like, whatever suit you're wearing, like don't put on something that's going to be like killing your feet 2 hours in. You know, I understand that a lot of our cosplays are based in fantasy, but if you can work pockets into it, that is the best thing you could possibly do. Like, you know, for like my Cyclops. Like, I love the fact that Cyclops has so many pouches, because like I was able to get like a leg holster, leg thing, you know, leg rig, and, you know, pack some water bottles in there. You know, I got, you know, extra, like, you know, wipes, because sometimes I have my son with me, you know, so like, you know, it's just like I'm like a one man carrying like bag. So I love it, and it looks like it's a part of the cosplay. You know.
So one final question, because I know I had you on here for about an hour. So is there a specific? Are there any big ones that you have planned now, as far as like ones that you can share with us?
Well, I want to upgrade my Cyclops to what I think it should look like in the MCU. Like, that's something that I've been working with my tailor about, you know, and it's gotta pay, you know, it's gotta pay that money for it. Like, that's like I think she quoted me like $800 for that. So that's that. Things that I want to do, I can't do because I just don't have like the funds right now. You know, between like I just got hit with like, there's a readathon for my son, and like, you know, they want the school fundraisers. I'm like, yo, like, okay, so there's money into that. You know what I mean? Like, that's I'm still trying to figure it out. there's things that I want to do that just cost. But now that I've learned how to make smoke, how to make like vapor, like vapes and whatever, I want to learn how to, like, I think I'm in like the learning phase of cosplay. Like there's, I don't, because you know, you got cosplayers that come out with something new every 2 weeks or every week. No, like, you know, I got my Sub-Zero. Now I want to perfect it. You know, instead of having switches for the smoke, I want to like have a remote control to it. You know, I want to have more smoke because some of these pictures are coming out fire as all hell, and it's all practical. You know, so like damn, like that shit looks good. So that means I just need more smoke just in the right places to make me look like I'm like a walking refrigerator. You know, or ice cube. Like that shit would just be dope to me. And like, you know, you refine what you have as opposed to always looking for the next thing. And but as far as like, I don't know, like there's the next big thing that I'm doing is the Juneteenth cosplay shoot that I've been doing for the last 2 years now. And I'm happy to announce that AwesomeCon has decided to host us. So yeah, I just signed a contract with them earlier this week so that not only will they host the cosplay shoot, but they also host another type of meetup for folks to come to with me hosting that. And then also I'm hosting a superhero training session with other fathers on Father's Day with my son for AwesomeCon Jr. So like, yeah, we're doing things, you know, and the fact that he's a part of it means the world to me. So yeah, like there's a lot of things that I'm doing that I guess we can't get into right now because, you know, we're kind of running over time, but there's a lot of stuff that's happening. That's awesome.
Well, tell the people how they can be able to support you, how they can be able to follow you, so that we can be able to make sure that you know, you keep moving forward and you keep progressing.
Well, what I would love for people to do is to support Blurred and Powerful by either A, using the hashtag, or B, going to the site blerdandpowerful.com. You know, you can see what the mission statement is. You can go to the shop. You can pick up a flag. Like I don't call them t-shirts or hoodies. I call them flags because you end up flying this, you know, because that's what you stand behind. That's what stands for you. I think a lot of blurred entities don't really stand for the people like they should. And that's what this does. Like I don't get no kind of real financial gain from people buying these shirts or whatever because of how the fees work. But the fact that people are able to put up their fists and like find some level of solidarity with it, like that's what it should be. That's what our community should be. That's what a community is. Not a whole bunch of backbiting. It's not a whole bunch of infighting. It's about showing solidarity under one flag. So that's what I would love for people to do. As far as being able to find me, like I said, Hellspawned _ cosplay on Instagram, or just Hellspawned on TikTok, or Hellspawned LLC on Twitter. But I'm not really on Twitter like that because you can find yourself really in trouble on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter don't be playing. Yeah.
No, you say the wrong thing, it just catches fire. So I just rather just leave that alone.
You put the comma there. Oh, cancel.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Right?
You'd be like, listen, that's not what I meant, but hold on.
But you were so eager to get that word out because you were the first person to tweet. So there's a lot of pitfalls for tweeting. So no, I'm good. Let me take my time with my hashtags on Instagram and TikTok.
At least then you got video, so they can be able to listen to you say it and how you say it. So then they can be able to get a point of it. So
right. So yeah, but yeah, those are the places where you can find me. And honestly, truly, like I thank you for wanting to talk to me. And you know, the business is really the people and the kids. You know, if we can focus on them and have them be the focus for real, then everything else grows from there. You know, if people are trying to gain clout, you just end up tearing yourself down and tearing other people down, and you get nowhere.
Absolutely.
You know, so
yeah, man, That's the same thing that why we started like the Blur Syndicate. So there's a group of us that like I just wanted like-minded people to have like an open conversation about stuff that they love and enjoy. You know what I mean? Taking your ego out of it, you know what I mean? Taking your just being able to share what you like, because like I have friends that are big into Star Wars that, you know, if you ask them one Star Wars question, you'll be there for an hour talking about how Kylo Ren was this way or how Vader was that way. You know what I mean? Or you have people that just are passionate about what they love. You want to be able to give them a platform to be able to show how awesome they are. And like today has been a great opportunity for us to show, you know, greatness within our communities, and just kind of highlighting the people that really try to look out for everyone, not just, you know, not just the people that, you know, you want to try. From what I've been able to talk to you about, man, it's like you want to help everybody be great. You know what I mean?
Listen, the table's big enough for all of us. You just got to be able to bring your own plate to the table. Like it's just as simple, you know, and that plate is what makes you unique. Like you don't have to be a follower. You can be the leader that you were always meant to be. Just be.
And that's the thing I think people don't get, because like, and I think that's kind of the reason why certain people come after you sometimes, is just because you're unapologetically you. So then after that, and it's hard to be somebody else, you know what I mean? Hard to be a copy of somebody else. And why would you want to be?
I mean, because they're not really secure in anything, and like they show that that's on display every single time they speak, that they want to tear someone down because they want to make themselves look better. Like, dog, like you realize I'm one of you, right? Yeah. Like at the end of the day, the police will shoot us both. You know, dead in the street.
They don't see too different.
No, but yet you want to you know, differentiate yourself from me. Because you think it'll make you look good, and yet at the same time you're not doing anything. You know, like it's crazy to me. These folks try to run me out of the community years ago, and yet they're not here because they couldn't survive during the pandemic. You know, not they didn't die, but they could not be creatively. They didn't create during the pandemic. They didn't know how to adjust. They didn't know how to adapt. You know, and a lot of them got the credit scores of homeless ghosts, so of course they're not going to be able to like put together anything to you know, financially, and they end up failing because they're so worried about things that are not real life. You know, you can't do extra stuff if you're not doing the main thing first.
There it is, bro. Because like you gotta worry about your home life first before you do anything else. So
right.
Well, as one black father to another, I want to salute you for everything that you're doing, man. And like we say here at the BS, be able to be like a Hulk. We want you to smash that follow button, and then we'll love you 3000. But until then, we will holler at you a little bit later. All right, take care.
Peace.